Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I will show you the absolute best settings that you can use in Arc Raiders in order to gain a competitive edge through some settings that you might have simply overlooked. Without wasting any time, let's get to it. We will be looking at all these settings one by one, starting from the display session. NVIDIA DLSS frame generation. Well, it is good because it increases FPS, let's say in RPG games where a reaction time might actually not matter that much. It is pretty bad if you want to be even a little bit competitive or have some nice reaction time, because it actually gives you input lag, which can make you react pretty slowly and feel pretty weird. VSync, we set it to disabled, because we want the maximum FPS we can get, and limiting ourselves is actually not a good idea. NVIDIA Reflex low latency. If you have a good graphic card which can handle it and doesn't impact your FPS too much, then you can set it on plus boost. But if your graphic card is on the lower end, then you set it on and it should be okay. It should actually work almost the same way. Frame limit, we set it to unlimited, since same thing as VSync, we want this to be uncapped in order to get maximum FPS. Upscale resolution should always be 100%. No matter what your screen is, no matter what monitor you are using, it should be 100%, or the game will start looking blurry, and that's not a good thing. Resolution scaling method. Here we have 6 options in total. The first 3 ones we won't even be looking at, because as you can see right now when I show you, the difference is pretty huge when it comes to how the game looks. So no AA, TAAU and TSR are actually not good options, so we will not be touching any of these. But then if we go to these options, we have NVIDIA DLSS, which is the best option for you if you have an NVIDIA graphic card. Then you have AMD FSR3 if you have an AMD card. And then you have the Intel XeSS if you actually want to use an Intel based anti-aliasing. But since I have an NVIDIA graphic card, I will be using NVIDIA DLSS, since it's the best one for me to get the best performance and also the best quality out of my settings. In NVIDIA DLSS quality, we will be using quality if your GPU is on the higher end a bit. Or if it's actually not that good of a GPU, then you can use balanced, because it's actually going to be the best option for you without making the game blurry. Anything below that, it's gonna feel pretty weird. In NVIDIA DLSS model, we have 2 options, Transformer and CNN. And Transformer is a new model that introduces the DLSS 4, which has a better image quality, but it's also more intensive in your GPU, so keep that in mind. If you can handle it, as I said, we go for Transformer since it's the best option. Now for the graphics section. We have the field of view option, which is pretty important, so we have to have this maximized in order to be able to see as many enemies as possible and as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we will have a pretty limited field of view, and this can impact your gameplay and your reaction time. This is the 60 option in field of view. And this is how the field of view looks at 80. As you can see, the difference is huge, because when we had the 60 option, we could not even see that we have enemies on both our left and right side. But once we increase the field of view at 80, then we can see that we actually had 2 enemies which could have ended us. On one side we had, let's say, a human, and on the other side we had an arc bot, which would be pretty bad news. NVIDIA RTX global illumination in the ray tracing section, we will set it to static. Even if your graphic card can handle the other options, we will not be changing this unless your graphic card is very high end, so it is recommended to set it at static. In quality options, overall quality we don't touch since we want to customize our settings. View distance, we will leave it at medium if you actually have a low-end PC, because it does impact a bit the FPS. But if you have a higher NPC, it is recommended to set it to epic, in order to see as many enemies as possible, as quickly as possible. Anti-aliasing doesn't have any impact at all after some tests that were run, not only by me but many other people too. So we set it at epic. Shadows. Now here is where it gets tricky. Lower your shadows to lowest setting, but as you can see here, I also lost my player shadow, which means other players' shadows have also disappeared. This way you can spot the enemies by spotting their shadows, for example, and this can mean life or death in a dangerous situation. So we set it to medium in order to get this shadow and see the other enemies, but also to get some FPS boost. Texture does not impact our FPS in any way, so we set it to epic because it does impact how the game looks. Effects. Effects, if your graphic card can handle it and you don't lose any FPS, then you can leave it at epic, but it does have a huge impact on the FPS, so it is recommended to set at low or medium if you want to have a bit better effects. Reflections, we set it to low because it does have some impact in the FPS. Foliage, we will set it to low not only for the FPS impact, but also because in some smaller bushes where enemies try to crouch, it can help you spot them easier. It does not work as good as in other games, but it still does work in some cases. Global illumination resolution. This one is pretty useless, it doesn't change the graphics much. In-game performance overlay. I like to set it to simple because this way I don't have to bother with it. Idle energy saving. This option is for when you are at the base, so at Speranza, after you finish the match. This way, when you are there, you will have less FPS, but you will be saving some energy. Inactive window energy saving. This option is for when you are alt tabbing, so if you alt tab a lot, this will be useful. Now we will be changing one of the best options which can help you gain a competitive edge over your enemy, since it helps you spot them faster and easier. Even though it's not a graphics option and it's actually an audio option, it is a pretty amazing option, so it is best to go to audio and then we go to night mode and set this on. What this does is it changes the loud sounds to be actually quieter, and the quieter sounds it makes them louder, which means the wind and the ambient sounds will be louder, but also the footsteps. This way you can hear the enemy coming while also trying to not make so much noise for yourself, because probably the enemy will have this activated too, so keep that in mind. With that being said and done, we will go to accessibility option to change our last option, which will help us gain some competitive edge, and that would be override crosshair shape. We set this to on, and then we have quite a few shapes which we can choose from, and we will choose the one that we actually like the most. For me it is the cross, since it's more traditional. Then here we can also add a crosshair weapon dot. And here we can also add the weapons crosshair center dot, which is pretty useful if you like to add it, because it can help you aim better. I set it to on because it helps me a lot. And also you can change the color of the outline and everything that you want in order to make your crosshair look as different as possible and as noticeable as possible. For me, I set it to green because I like the green color more, because it's easier to spot in most of the cases. And then there is this option in the end, which is Windows Focus, which brings the game to foreground on match found, which means once the match starts, it will bring it up and notify you that the match has started. This way you won't miss anything, and you will be able to get back in game after you have found the videos that you want to see. And with that, we are done with the settings, and I hope that these settings will help you improve your gameplay while also not reducing the game's quality too much. And if you really enjoy my content, do not forget to like and subscribe. It really does help me a lot. And also, you can follow me on Twitch and TikTok for additional content. And I'll see you next time.